Good morning. Oh no, it's good afternoon. Hey guys, good afternoon. Hi. Hi, welcome. Happy Sunday afternoon. I hope everyone had a good weekend. I had an amazing weekend. I was at the Real Truth About Health conference and it was just like things that I already knew about eating healthy, and then there was more information. They talked about the environment and what we can do. It was just like amazing. So that's not what today's Instagram live is about, but I am waiting for Ambush Salon. I have an awesome live happening today with Amy, the owner of Ambush Salon, is joining me live. So I'm just waiting on her to tune in so that we can talk together. I'm going to interview her about what to look out for. Oh, here we are. So let's see if I can get her on here. Yes. Go live, Bush. So great. We should be going live soon. I'm waiting for Amy to join. We're going to be discussing hi.
Hi.
Hey, we did it.
I know. My first time ever.
Yay. I'm glad to be here first. Yeah, so I was just introducing everyone to Amy. Amy is the owner of Ambush Salon out in Ohio. They specifically, exclusively only do curly hair, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, and it's all textures of curly hair.
All textures of curls. So anything from kind of even looser waves than I have, all the way up to your tightest of afros.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit about the salon first, where you're located. So anyone in the Ohio area, and I know they're probably looking for stylists, will want to find you.
So we're located in Gahanna, Ohio, just a little bit east of Columbus, Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually opened the doors in 2010.
Wow.
And my vision was to create a place that had diversity. That was not a common thing. There was very much of that divide between textures. You had, your salons that just did your European, Caucasian type textures, and then you had salons that just dealt with, African American, Afro texture, mixed curls. And there was this rise in that, 2008, 2009 of your natural textures that were coming through. So I wanted to see a place where we could bring all of that together into one place and really,
Right.
because texture is texture at the end of the day. And if you
Right.
understand the rules of texture and understand the rules of curls, then it shouldn't matter who's standing behind the chair or who's sitting in the chair.
Right.
And so it has really now become that we have this reputation for that. And so it's growing immensely. And we're seeing this growth that is happening and that acceptance now that, there are specialists that can deal with that. So that was my
That's
vision.
awesome.
So in 2010, that's what we did. We opened up, started out, and it just really took off.
That is amazing, especially when you think about how you're a white woman, but you know and understand how to deal with my texture hair or someone with
Correct.
curls tighter than mine. And real quickly, like, what do you find are the similarities, the differences? Is it all in our heads when we're like, I'm a type 3C? Like,
Right. But as we know, all type 3Cs are not equal or the
Right.
same.
True.
Because you have different porosities. You're going to have, a different shape to that curl. You're going to have different textures throughout the head. As we know, nobody's head is the same texture throughout the whole entire head.
True.
You might have some areas that are kind of going to be similar, like we know the crown or the hairlines are going to be somewhat consistent with that. But everybody's set of curls in their head is very similar to your fingerprint. It's very unique to each individual.
Right.
So the big thing is really kind of breaking that down and understanding more so of what the combination of protein and moisture contents are in the hair, because that kind of makes a huge difference in what that curl looks like at the end of the day and what product to recommend. Or is it fine?
Right.
Is it a fine 3C? Is it a coarse 3C? That sort of thing makes a huge difference. And, determining which, are you going to add extra moisture, or maybe the hair needs extra protein? Maybe somebody's transitioning.
Right.
Maybe somebody has been natural their whole life. And then you also have to look at what that amount of shrinkage is going to be and what goes into it. Because a 3C on mixed hair is going to be very different with a 3C on maybe someone that's from Ethiopia.
Right.
So that background. So I think that the question is it all in our head? I think what has really kind of put that into our heads is more culturally based.
True.
So, as a white woman growing up, I didn't contend with the whole straightening with the irons or the relaxing or, dealing with the pain from having the chemicals put onto my scalp. So I didn't grow up with that. I had friends that did, but I didn't. So I think that we have to find another way to connect with each other on what that end result is. And the only way that as a hairstylist that I can do that, whether I'm a white woman or a black woman doing that, is really understanding and educating myself.
True.
On what that is. And now I can have a better understanding of what the person in my chair needs and requires.
Right. And since the salon's been open for 10 years, so you'll be celebrating a whole decade. That's exciting.
I know, it's super exciting.
Yeah.
So, and I remember when I started out, I had left a salon that I was at for 11 years. And it was during that time that very organically the natural hair movement was starting. And so I was experimenting with a lot of my own cutting techniques because everybody was.
Right.
There were no hard and fast rules at that point in time. And I remember I had left, and a girl that I worked with, her children were mixed. And I had said to her, I said, hey, I don't know about doing twists, or I don't know how to do a lot of these styles. And her comment to me was, oh, don't get started there because then they're going to want you to do that. And I thought, how sad that it was based upon not wanting to do a service that somebody's willing to pay for.
Right.
Or how sad that the education isn't being put into that, and as hairstylists being misinformed and miseducated on how to do things. And we should be able to provide those services.
Absolutely.
And so that kind of really, spurred it too for me and put that passion into it of, we're hairstylists. We should be able to be better prepared.
Right.
We're going to sit in the chair instead of kind of separating yourself and segmenting into different areas and saying, I can only do this type of hair. And then what you see is a commonality of a lot of hairstylists only providing what they look like, they themselves.
Right.
And
right.
So there's clients leave looking just like them.
Right. And then you also, when you're doing that, you're not growing as a stylist. You're not going to expand your services and get new clients because it's all going to be this homogenous group.
Correct.
Yeah. Which segues into cutting hair.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so because textures are so different, and you mentioned the porosity and shrinkage, does that determine how you're going to cut the hair?
Absolutely. So one of the things that I have when I'm teaching my hairstylist that I've broken everything down into a system is kind of a 4-part. I call it the 4 pillars. And in pillar number 1, that's all about our communication, and during that consultation being able to correctly analyze the hair so that we can then make a better choice. Pillar number 2 is about the actual cutting, and that's making the decision, are we going to cut this hair wet or are we going to cut it dry? So, there are some rules to that. So the tighter the curl and the texture, whether you have more of like a fractured Z-type curl or almost no pattern at all, we know that those are going to be the highest in the shrinkage. So tension is huge. So when the hair is wet, it's at a weaker state.
Right.
Here to pull out. And so typically what we're taught in school is that you wet the hair, you part it off, you comb through it, and you stretch it tight. And then you remove whatever the amount is that you're going to take off. Well, as we know, when hair has a high amount of shrinkage, a ½ inch is not a ½ inch. A ½ inch could be 2 inches by the time it's shrinking up. So ideally, by addressing those curls in their dry and natural state of what they're going to be, Now you can correctly assess each section of the head appropriately for what that curl and texture is going to be. Oftentimes in the crown, that's even more so apparent. So when you see a woman walking around and her hair is in its natural curl state and it looks like a square, then like they've been standing up against the wall,
Right, where it gets,
classic look like that.
yeah.
Likely highly happened is that they went into their hairstylist and the hairstylist flat ironed it first.
Mm-hmm.
And then they cut it. And then when they go home and they wash it, all the hair curls up to where it's going to be. And so it's not shaped according to the curl in those sections.
Right.
But dry, then it's more of a customized visual than it is actual physical pulling it out and seeing if it's going to be even. So this way, now when you go into that, you're treating each area as an individual. Sure. Now, on the other side, if you go to flat iron that, it's probably not going to look great flat ironed.
Okay.
Because the end's going to be uneven.
Right.
So
right.
a lot of times I tell people you're going to have to pick one or the other. You can't really have both. You can't have a haircut with that type of texture of hair.
Okay.
That's going to work both ways. So
Yeah.
if you're wearing it straight all the time, then you need to commit to that.
Right. So like with my hair texture, it's a lot looser in the back. So I find that when I wear my hair curly, the back hangs
Correct.
way more because the back of my hair is almost wavy. It's a very loose curl, whereas the very center part of my hair is low porosity. It's very tight. It's dry, and then the curls, my curls all go in different directions depending on how it feels
Correct.
that day.
Yeah.
So you recommend coming with your hair, like when you're cutting it, it's going to be curly regardless, right? Whether it's wet or dry, it's going to be curled.
Right.
Okay, so you don't straighten hair.
No.
Okay.
That because the curls don't come out the same at the end. Like
right.
So I have no judgment on that. I understand why they're doing it, and a lot of times what happens is they can't reach the back as well. So that's why they actually need someone else to come in and do that for, to be able to do that. So, that's the first thing. When somebody walks into the salon, and for us, it's a little bit easier because when they walk in, everybody has curls. So it helps a lot of, I think individuals to feel more comfortable if their stylist is wearing curls.
Right.
Like, okay, we're in this together.
Right.
We
understand the pain.
Right? You understand the pain. So that's number one. Number two is being able to speak the language. So, being able to talk to them and not be, instantly dragging your fingers through the hair, making it frizzier while they're sitting there. Not running a comb or a brush through it before you're getting started. Those things make us very uncomfortable because you're like, okay, you're brushing my hair. Now it's really frizzy, and then you're going to tell me, excuse me, now you're going to tell me it's frizzy?
Right.
This. You're not making it better. So, the way you handle and touch the curls is really important. Being able to touch them with love. Yes. Being able to respect the curl, respect the person's space. And then starting off with, just tell me a little bit about yourself and your curls. That's usually my first question. People will spill. They'll tell you everything. They're going to be like, I had the haircut, blah, blah, blah. Or, when I get up in the morning. And then, and then I expand upon, tell me about your daily routine. What do you do? How often do you shampoo? Are you using actual shampoo? Are you using a cleansing treatment?
Right.
Are you, using finger detangling? And then I need to find out what method they already have. So I have to delve into how much information and knowledge that individual has.
Wow, okay.
Because that tells me a lot. Because if they've already done their homework and they've been living natural for years, they've got a set routine.
Right.
And it tells me what I need to do to be able to support that and not be rigid and saying, no, there's only one way to touch your curls.
Wow.
So we see that happen in a lot of the top name product lines that are out there, is that they create this Bible, so to speak, and you can't deviate from it. But it doesn't fit everybody. So we need to know that as many curls as there are, that's as many methods that can work. So it's about finding out what works. So my job is to find out what works and doesn't work for that individual. Where are they struggling? If they're not
Right.
struggling in one area, I don't need to do anything about that. I don't need to sell them product if they've already got something that is their holy grail.
Right.
God forbid we mess with the holy grail.
Exactly. Like once you get it
So,
done, you're like, I'm good.
hey, you're good.
Yeah.
Now, my job is to assess the hair and give them advice on maybe if the hair feels a little dry, I'm going to make a recommendation that's
Right.
a thing to maybe help support that. And then some people come in and know absolutely nothing. They're like, I'm transitioning. I have 2 inches of regrowth. You know, none of my friends are natural. My family isn't natural, but I'm going to do this. What do I do? And at that point, find out what their comfort level is and how are we going to proceed forward.
Right.
So, you know, it's like, are you comfortable with the big chop today? Oh, no. Okay, great. So how can I help support them in their styling? Because that's a difficult thing to have your natural texture, few inches of your natural texture, and then a few inches
Yeah.
of, you know, either heat damage
To
straight.
go from here to here, and you're like,
It can be frightening.
yeah, not everyone's ready for it.
Yep. And then find out psychologically what their fears are.
True.
So, you know, are you afraid of how it's going to be received at work? Are you afraid it's not going to be viewed as professional? Okay, what do I need to do to help you feel professional with your natural texture?
So true. Yeah, and it is. It's so crazy how our hair is so political. It's policed the most, and you know, we're trying to just live our lives and live our best lives, but our bosses and the community isn't always there to support the hair. So finding a stylist that gets it and is there to kind of like hold your hand throughout the whole process.
Yep. That's why I always open it up at the end of the visit too. Like, your communication with me doesn't stop here just because you walk out the door. You can email me. You can give me a call. I'll call you back when I get time, you know, moment. And so that we can continue to give that support. Send me pictures along the way. Are you having trouble styling it at home? Give me a couple shots. Send it. I'll give you some, you know, suggestions on what you can do at home. Do you need to come back in for another styling lesson? So we address all of that too.
So for the ones who are clueless, and they're transitioning, what kinds of questions should they be asking their stylist, because they can't get to Ambush Salon in Hannah?
I think the big thing is to really just kind of put it out there to start out with if they're looking for a salon or a stylist, and just put it out there and post it and say, hey, for everybody wearing your hair natural, where do you go and have you found anybody? And people usually have some suggestions. And then feel free to go in for a consultation and have that conversation with the hairstylist.
Right.
And see how you feel. Are you comfortable? Do they answer your questions? Are they using pictures for inspiration to be able to communicate? Are they using all of their communication tools? Do you feel like the product lines that they have are going to support your texture? You know, have you tried them? Find out if there's a return policy.
Yes.
Because we have a really good return policy on our products, because we're going to back up our suggestions. We know the product is good, regardless which one we sell. But if you're going to take it home and you don't like it, then that doesn't help anybody. So you need to bring it back and we need to exchange it. So I'm really adamant about that.
Right.
I tend to somewhat shy away from salons that charge large consultation fees in the attempt to, you know, turn it around and say, but you can use it on your haircut. But if I'm not comfortable with you, you didn't do your job.
Right.
A good fit. I don't want to pay $75 for a consultation. So I tend to shy away from, I personally, that's mine. But if you have someone that 5 friends have recommended, then you probably
feel a little bit better.
Yeah, feel a little bit better. So, and then especially for transitioning, I would find out what styling techniques are they going to recommend. Things I can do at home to, or can I come in weekly? You know, maybe at first that's what's best. And, you know, definitely staying away from someone that wants you to flat iron or straighten the ends in the interim, because heat can cause just as much damage. Natural texture as what's already
definitely. And I don't think, and sometimes people don't realize that when they are applying that heat, they're undoing all the 2 inches of that new growth they've been working so hard for, right?
Absolutely. And or finding out, you know, what really is involved in protective styling.
Right.
So, that's always a big thing. Some people it works for, some people it doesn't. My recommendation is to use it short term, very short term.
Yeah.
And, if you put it in a couple of weeks,
Right.
take it out and have it left looser. So, yeah, it's not going to hold up as long. But then again, we have to really make sure we don't receive traction alopecia.
Exactly.
So, because that, can lose your edges. Now you got to regrow the edges back.
Yeah, now you just added a whole new host of problems, and
Yeah.
already our hair is like 4 different textures. And,
Yep. And
yeah.
so, really finding out like if that is something that is the way to go. And, but there's other ways. You can do twists, you can do flexi rods, you can, do flat braid. Like there's ways to kind of stretch that out. And then find out, with that too, is how often do you need to go in to maintain that, to maintain the ends, to keep working on them. So, sometimes in the beginning a little bit more often because you need extra support. So, you might go in at 4 weeks or 8 weeks. But after you finally transition completely all the way, now you can go 3 or 4 months.
Right.
In
Definitely.
between your trims.
Yeah, because I think the cool thing about curly hair versus when my hair was relaxed and straight was when my hair was relaxed, I was getting trims every 4 to 6 weeks. Now I'm like, if I could get it in a year.
Right. Yeah, but now that you're taking care of your hair in a different way and wearing it more natural and using the right products, you can go longer. Those ends are going to hold up better.
Yeah, and that goes into cost, because I live in New Jersey where a typical haircut will cost you $95 and up. So I don't know what their prices are in Ohio. I assume they're probably a little bit less.
It kind of depends.
Right.
My haircuts are $95, but then again, I'm hitting 30 years. And doing all the training. But my staff is going to be less because they're younger. Now, the advantage to that is that they also have my support. So if somebody, so sometimes people come into me first, and then I transition them over to one of the other stylists, and I'm just a support.
Right.
And that works out beautifully because we've got the main basis for everything, but then we can co-consult. Or oftentimes they'll say, can I have a second opinion?
Yeah.
And clients love that. So I would find out how open is the salon to that too.
Yes.
Because you don't want somebody that's so territorial that then you feel uncomfortable and you just want to go to a completely new salon instead of work within the one that's there. So I'd like to see more teamwork.
True. That would be nice, because also there might be something that one of your stylists have never seen before with hair that you can come in, or another stylist can say, oh yeah, I cut hair like this, at my last job, this is how we did it. And especially like for some women who have alopecia, who are going through, or one thing I noticed is medication definitely plays a huge part in our hair. Our hair texture can change depending on the type of medication, and how products interact with our hair changes when if you're taking medication or not.
Well, medication is one of the aspects. Our hair is one of the top determining telltale signs of what's going on inside of us. So it can be caused by hormonal. Oftentimes after you have a baby, your hair sheds immensely, and you can lose quite a bit of hair, like around the hairline and in through the top. Thyroid is going to be a little bit more all over and through the top and kind of spreading down into the sides and into the back. Iron deficiency is one of the top things that I see now too.
Wow.
So what you see with that is it's a little bit thicker base, and then the ends are a lot thinner. So sometimes hairstylists will incorrectly diagnose the hair as being damaged, but it's really not. It's that you have to look at the density. So when you pull up the hair here, if you see a lot of short ones, and then it's longer through here, it's not always breakage. And the way that you can tell is that new hair has a point, a little bit kind of like a pencil point.
Yep,
And
I've noticed that.
Hair is going to be more like this, and it's going to be kind of shattered on the ends. So, or it looks like it's snapped off, but it's going to be like
right, or just been ripped or something.
So most times it's not breakage. People think it is, but it's not. So the way to overcome that, sometimes you have to lose a little bit of length, kind of even out the thickness, and then ask them those questions as well. have you been diagnosed with low iron? Have you been diagnosed with thyroid, PCOS, hormonally based? Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Premenopause, menopause, postmenopause. Please.
Wow. It's like,
Our hair textures also change when you hit puberty or you have your first baby. Like, curls can change too. They can loosen up, they can get tighter. So I usually kind of go through that range too as I'm looking at it, because it's my job to look at it, see what the condition of the hair is, and then to speak with them. And a
yeah.
lot of times people are like, oh yeah, I just went to the doctor, or no, let me get that checked out. Um, Medications, like you had said, autoimmune diseases
Yes. And
also
that,
a lot of thinning for that. Or finding out if they had chemical burns for that, or maybe getting a lot of Dominican blowouts.
right. All
Be
that
very
heat.
tight and harsh, especially when you think around some of the bigger cities, like New Jersey, New York City,
Yep.
Miami.
Everywhere.
So,
Yep.
you're going to see a lot more of the Dominican blowouts at that, but those can be very harsh. Um, the other thing is just braiding too tight.
Right.
Through,
Over long periods of time, and how that basically kills the
yeah,
cuticles and the
yeah,
bulb. Yeah.
yeah, letting your locks get too long and heavy.
Right. Yep.
Sister. Some of that stuff is because it's so tight and it's pulling on the hair for so long of a period of time. It just weakens the base. Those are all things that go into the hair loss.
Yeah.
So, I can't diagnose, but I can look at things and say, it looks like this has a common factor here.
Right.
Checked out and let me know the next time how things are going.
Exactly. And so I just wanted to reintroduce you for the people who just joined. Thank you guys for tuning in, and I'm going to get to your question, Sunshine. But I am here. I am Scarlett, the owner of Wonder Curl Natural Hair Products, and I have Amy from Ambush Salon in Gahanna, Ohio, where they exclusively do all textures of curly hair. And I'm glad you asked the question, Sunshine, because I want you guys, this is interactive as well, so this isn't just
Yes.
Amy and I talking. We want you guys to ask your questions. So Amy, what does low iron do to your hair that you've noticed?
Yeah, that I've noticed. So it makes it drier, a little bit more brittle, and then it messes with basically the timeline of the way your hair grows. So it has phases. So you've got your growth phase, and that's going to be a certain subset of time, and then it has its resting phase, and then its fallout phase. So what happens is the fallout phase gets lengthened, and so your longer hairs that are in your hair have been in there longer.
Right.
On average, your hair grows about a half inch a month. It can be more, less, depending upon the individual. So the hairs that have been in your head longer are the ones that fall out sooner because they're older. So when you have that rapid fallout phase, the newer hairs don't have enough time to grow in and fill up that space.
Wow. Okay.
And it's also really important to know that there's more than just one testing for iron. There's like 3 different serums of testing, and I don't remember exactly what they're called. So if you go into your doctor the first time and you're experiencing hair loss like that, and he's like, yep, your iron looks fine, everything seems good, can't find anything wrong with your initial blood tests, but you're having that, go ahead and press to have it done further, because there's a difference between iron being in your blood and your body actually absorbing and utilizing the iron.
Yeah.
So it's important to find out the difference on that. So there are more tests that can be done on your iron levels.
And I don't want people to think like there's just one type of deficiency, because I know like vitamin D deficiency, which a lot of us in the north, where we're not getting a lot of sun naturally, have a vitamin D deficiency, and that plays with our hair, and that plays a big part in hair growth and how we absorb calcium. So that's something. Would you do you have any thoughts about that you've noticed?
Yeah, vitamin deficiency. Well,
or just vitamin deficiency.
Yeah. Anytime that you're nutritionally devoid, it's going to come through in some way, shape, or form. So vitamin D deficiency also looks very similar to iron deficiency in that way as well. Anytime you go into the doctor, we're probably going to be told we're low. So, they say even just getting 20 minutes of full sunshine a day can help boost that.
If
Just
we're lucky.
if we're lucky, right?
Yeah.
But then you can also take the supplements and that helps. I also find that magnesium is really important in our
Yes.
systems too. It can prevent muscle cramping. It can help calm anxiety.
Helps
It
our
can
immune
help with,
system.
yep, boost that. Joint issues, just in general pain, mood,
Yes.
headaches. So magnesium seems to also be another one that seems to play in that hair loss, I find. Another one is selenium. And selenium can actually be obtained by just eating 2 to 3 Brazil nuts a day.
Yes.
That's
Oh, no more than 4, because after that is too much.
okay. I think a handful is yummy, but
They're
yeah,
good.
it doesn't take that much. So kind of, finding, like, even if you're going to take like a one a day or something that's going to be more complete, trying to find something that targets more on those. You're going to hear a lot of controversy over biotin.
Yeah.
In my opinion, you know what? Biotin comes from gelatin. It can come from eggs. It's just an additional protein. So I don't find that I think it's as much of a hair boost.
Yeah, we're not biotin deficient in our in our society.
We're just not.
Yeah, we probably get too much biotin.
Yeah.
I've learned in our diets, and we've been sold on these hair, nail, and I'm kind of against vitamins as a whole. Personally, I feel like you need to go to your doctor and get blood tests done and find out what you're deficient in,
Right.
and work with your provider to determine what's the best course. And one thing, I get a lot of questions from women who were like, my hair is so dry. What products do you recommend? And I tried everything, and I was just like, well, let's slow back, because it might not be the products.
Right.
What's your diet looking like? So you find like diet plays a huge part in how hair.
I find that there's 2 parts to that. Is that diet is going to be very important in growing and starting out with healthy hair.
Yes.
But if the ends of your hair and the mid shaft of your hair is dry and getting that damage, that's going to be an external force, because it's been on the outside of your head for so long that now at this point you need to address it differently. So drinking more water is not going to make the ends of your hair better.
Right. True.
Eating protein, taking vitamins, that's not going to do anything for the ends of your hair. That's all going to be either mechanical, chemical, environmental sort of a thing. So but if you're not growing good hair, so like the hair is starting out close to the root already, not good.
True.
Now look at what's happening to you internally.
Exactly.
Or autoimmune diseases, or medications, because some medications are going to change texture, or surgery, anesthesia.
Really?
One that I've
Wow.
had clients texture, and after a year it was pretty much better, but you
Wow.
could see out, down as it went down. So but in the stress, the other thing I didn't mention about hair loss that happens a lot too is that anytime that you have any like gastric bypass surgery, or like some of these diets where you're going to lose like at least 30 pounds, but like 30, 35, 40 pounds in a short period of time, they consider about 6 months to be that short period of time, your hair is going to drop. It's going to come out. It's going to fall out. It's going to thin.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It makes sense.
The body's just going into starvation mode to some
Right. Right. And it's like, we don't need this.
Yep.
Abandon ship. Let's make room
Yep.
for as much as we can.
Because it needs to reroute
Yeah.
energy into other ways.
Exactly.
So that's something too a lot of women aren't prepared for.
Wow.
They go through major dieting. So my suggestion would be to stretch it out over a year
Yeah.
and just take it a little slower.
Right. And I feel like there's another thing, like you said, like our hair is kind of like the telltale signs of what's going on. And I also tell women, look at your nails, because we can see our nails a lot faster than we can see our hair growing. So if your nails are going to be weak, your hair is probably going to be weak.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I also say my products can only maintain what you grow. So a stylist can only maintain what you bring to them, right?
Yes.
So, like, what are your recommendations for getting a good hair routine together for those of us who aren't too sure, or we think we know it all, but we're
Right.
always looking for new information? Like, how would you suggest going about getting a good, healthy hair routine?
So I would say that first understanding, your texture and being able to determine, does it need protein, moisture, or hydration? And knowing, number one, that oil does not provide moisture or hydration. It only
Yeah.
provides more of the protein. It's like flexibility. It can, help to seal ends and make it look better. But it's not adding the hydration or the moisture into the hair. So, coarser hair can still have plenty of moisture and not be dry, but because it feels stronger and coarser, then people assume that it's just automatically dry for that. So I kind of compare hair textures to fabric.
Right.
So hair that is fine is more like silk. Okay. So it doesn't have any body to it. So when you're sewing and you're folding over and making seams, you don't cut the seams out because you need to create as much strength as possible. Coarser hair by nature is going to be more like denim. Denim, is stronger. You fold it, it automatically creates more width.
Yes.
For that. So a lot of it too depends upon what you want to feel in your hair. So typically hair that is non-porous. So I would describe non-porous hair as hair that doesn't absorb product well. Water kind of bounces off of it.
Right.
Run it under water
low porosity
before it gets, it almost sheds the water, kind of a thing. And it's going to dry sometimes a little quicker, to some extent. So those types of individuals, because they want to feel a softer texture, by adding more moisture into it, it's going to soften it. And oils can be good for that too, because then you get that softening effect and that little more slippage on the hair.
Right.
So hair that's very fine, you tend to have a harder time getting body. It doesn't stay as full. Humidity kind of flattens it out. It gets kind of droopy.
It kind of like...
That's right. So moisture is not going to work well because that's going to weigh it down. It's going to be heavy. And it's just going to increase that floppiness for it. So when you think about it, coarser hair has a lot more protein.
Okay.
So fine hair is going to hold on to the weight of moisture, but it needs more protein to pop, to pop that up to create that extra spring and strength.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the way I describe protein is like your building blocks in a wall. It's strong. There's no flexibility to it. It's a binder. It's going to bind to each other, and that creates that strength.
Right.
Hydration is like when you are going to hydrate, you drink Gatorade, you drink electrolytes, you drink water, okay? It's going internally into your body. Okay. And then moisture is when you moisturize your skin, you think of on external. It's on the outside.
Yes.
When you look at the molecular structure of water and these molecules that are in products. So moisture products, it's going to be a larger molecule. It tends to lay on the outside of the hair, and it's going to continuously probably pull moisture from the air because it's going to hold on to it, and those products pump up.
It has like a lot of glycerin. A lot of humectants tend to do that, especially in the dry climate when it's like winter time, right?
Yep. And some alcohols are going to, the fatty alcohols are going to pull that in and hold on to it. And that's what those ingredients do, and that's why they're in product. A lot of people like to try to say certain ingredients are really bad, but it's only bad if it doesn't work for your hair, is what I find. Yeah. So there's always exceptions to the rule. Okay, but so once you find out what ingredients do and how they work, then you can make a more informed decision as to what product's going to be right for you. So though these people that are like, glycerin's bad, these humectants are bad, well, their hair probably didn't need that type of
or maybe less or more depending on the formula.
Yep. So hydration in products tend to go internally into the hair. So they're actually a water-loving molecule that has already captured the water, the moisture, and then it puts it inside the hair and it holds it there.
Yeah.
So that is the difference. So a lot of people, I would say a higher majority of people actually need more hydration than they do full-on moisture.
True.
So when I kind of break that down, kind of that segments, and just as we know, oil has different weights, you know, as to what the weight is on the hair and how the hair turns out and ends up being. Vitamin E, sesame seed oil, jojoba oil, very lightweight.
Yeah.
They're going to be on your lighter weight hair, you know, so maybe more hair like mine, not going to weigh it down.
Or like argan oil.
Yep, and that's even a lighter one. Some of your Moroccan oil.
Mm-hmm.
Olive oil's a little heavier.
Yes.
You know, grapeseed oil's a little less heavy than olive oil. And coconut
Castor oil.
And castor oil's, yeah, kind of in that mid-range. And then you have coconut oil, which solidifies at room temperature. So on hair like mine, I look very greasy. I'm very, you know, separated. And that's not what I want. But somebody with a lot thicker, coarser hair can handle that, and it helps to contain it. So,
yeah. I'm not a huge fan of coconut oil, like just straight coconut oil on the hair.
I don't think it absorbs in.
No.
Somebody might crucify me for saying that, but my experience is that it lays on the outside of the hair. Most oils do. They're not, they need to be changed, you know, cooked down, so to speak.
Right.
You know, to be able to be absorbed into the cuticle of the hair. Most things that you do as a DIY or food, you know, items that you might use on your hair at home can't absorb into the hair. It might feel good for a day or two, but by the time you wash it, that comes off.
Right.
Outside the cuticle of the hair. I mean, I'm sure that with you making hair products, you're going to have a much better understanding of how that actually works.
Oh, definitely.
Made a product versus otherwise just cooking it up and using
it. Well, whenever I see DIYs, especially ones that have avocado in it, I'm like, avocados are so expensive. Just eat it and get the benefits that way. Don't waste the avocados. Like,
because it's not, I'd rather eat it myself.
Yeah, it's like then your hair, your skin, your nails, your organs, everything gets that benefit and not just the hair. But I understand why people will want to put the avocado directly to their hair. And so what I find is, because people will be like, well, do you put oil on your hair? And I don't put straight oil. I don't like putting straight oil, any kind of oil, directly on my hair. It has to be mixed with some sort of moisture, like water or aloe water, something blended to make it a cream.
Right.
And I feel that way I get that hydration and the sealing power in one.
Well, it's also going to help control that frizz.
Yeah.
Oil alone does not get rid of frizz. That is one of the biggest misconceptions that product companies have created in their sales pitch to curly girls.
Yeah, that marketing. And we buy it, right? Literally.
And then it sits there.
Yeah. And so that's another thing. I get a lot of women who, well, say they have a dry scalp. So they ask what oil, what do you grease your scalp? So I don't recommend greasing scalps. What do you say?
Oh, no, I completely agree 100%. In fact, it can be quite contradictory to what our scalp needs. The thing that people don't understand is that when you put that oil in your scalp that way, and you've already got a scalp that's flaky or itchy or dandruffy, is that it can build up. And then if you're already not washing for 1 week or 2, or cleansing of any sort during that time, okay? And water is not going to dissipate the oil on the scalp. It has to actually be cleansed. Is that bacteria and yeast actually will build up underneath that layer of oil on your scalp. And then it can cause even more production of flakiness.
Right.
And the skin, starting to build up and peel off.
Yeah.
So larger sections of skin, that's the skin cells that are building up. That's probably what's happening. So it's probably just a little bit of over yeast production. And then we are eating too much sugar in our diet.
Yep, lots of processed food.
Lots of processed foods, sugar, the alcohol, you know, and that has now created an overabundance in your body as well. Then the scalp condition will continue to get worse.
Right.
So at that point, you actually do. So that's one thing too that I've learned, that slowly changing, you know, people's perception for it. Because I know for a long time, Black women, it was like, don't wash, need to, you know, keep it dirtier, you know, don't, you know, washing's bad, don't.
Yeah.
1 week, 2 week, you know, some women would go 3 week, you know, in between. And actually, it's healthier to remove our skin buildup, our sweat, you know, the environmental, you know, dirt. So it is safe with the correct products to do it more often, you know,
Right.
like it's absolutely okay. The other thing is that just because you go longer in between shampoos doesn't mean your hair is still receiving what it needs. You know, nothing is still nothing.
Right.
So, you know, you still need to kind of touch it up with some sort of moisture in between those other days. And that's something that I'm continuously trying to preach to people, is that just because you wait a week doesn't mean that your hair's better.
Right.
If no moisture is being put in, then you're still receiving no moisture. Your hair's not going to be less dry just because you didn't shampoo for a week.
Yeah, and I think and you make a really good point, because we have this persistent myth in our community, and I heard this when I was little. We think like dirty hair grows faster, and now that I'm older and wiser, I was like, how does that even make sense?
It doesn't.
But also there is this fear, and I grew up with that fear of water, because we think that water is going to make our hair worse. And I think that's the reason why, like, we tend to stay away from getting our hair wet and not wanting to have water touch it, because we think that's going to ruin the hair. But really, contrary, we need water constantly in our hair, because hair is like a rubber band, right? Once it's dry and broken, it just snaps, and it doesn't snap back.
But there's nothing to snap back. On the other hand, too, you know, when hair is wet, it is in a weaker state.
Right.
Until it's dry again. But the thing that I'm trying to tell people is, yes, it's important to have water in our hair, but it has to be the right kind of delivery of water. Because if you wet your hair and you put nothing else in it, when your hair dries, it's going to be in the exact same state it was before it got wet. Mm-hmm. So that means the water didn't stay sufficiently in the hair. So water alone is not moisturizing.
Right.
Be done with a combination of something to seal it in there. That's why we have conditioners. That's why we have cream cleansers. Mm-hmm. You know, because they have the deliverance there to be in the right molecules to hold the water in. Otherwise, it's easy come, easy go.
True. And then if you have high porosity hair, it's like
it's
a
gone.
double whammy.
That's right. So putting water on it's not going to moisturize it. So, you know, some people swear by steamers. Mm-hmm. But a steamer just by itself is just steaming, you know, same thing. So if you're going to steam, you know, it needs to have some sort of treatment.
Okay.
And a steamer is just another way to open up the cuticle to allow the product to penetrate into the hair in a certain way. But people need to be very careful with steamers as well, because used incorrectly will cause a lot of breakage. So if the hair is very porous and it's already weak and it needs protein, and somebody's like, oh, your hair's frizzy, I'll put more moisture on it.
Right.
Or steamer for 20 minutes and they don't let it cool down properly and they start, you know, messing with it. Yeah, they're going to cause breakage.
Wow. You are like an encyclopedia of curly hair. When I sat down with you, so much awesome information. We only have like a few more minutes left. We've been doing this since 1. I can't believe this time went by so quickly. I could talk about this all day.
I think we need to do this again like in a week or 2.
You know what? If they say they want to follow up, then we should definitely do a follow up, because there's so much to be known about hair. But I just want to make sure that the people who just tuned in, they know who you are. So just give us a recap of you, the salon, and everything.
Sure. My name's Amy Bush. I am the owner and founder of Ambushed Hair Salon in Gahanna, Ohio, just outside of Columbus, Ohio. And I opened up in 2010 with a vision of being able to bring all diversities of hair textures in and being able to provide the correct knowledge and education for our clients and being able to have more knowledge and education than the other, what the standard experience was for
Yes.
women wearing their hair natural and men
Right.
for that. So, and I base all of my education all off of my internship that I have put together that everybody has to go through before they can get their chair, regardless, because they have to be able to buy into the philosophy and understand that it's always health first. So
Right.
anything that's going to create an unhealthy environment for the curls, because otherwise, what's the point? Because it's all about curls.
And our curls, I say like curls are like unruly children sometimes. And,
Yeah,
you
do it now and then.
Yep.
I saw a question, if I can just address it, that
Sure.
someone had posted, asking why their hair might grow longer in some areas than others. And I would,
yes.
yeah, and so I don't know if they just tuned in more recently and missed the whole thing. I would say first address and take a look at the density factor of how that hair growth is in those areas. Because if it's a little thinner in some areas, those areas are probably going to end up being shorter than the other areas that are not growing as consistent,
Yeah.
So in the longer areas, they'll probably find a higher density of hair, density being termed as number of hairs per square inch. And so you kind of pull your hair aside in different areas and then compare it to another area. So however much scalp you see that comes through, and see
Right. And that
hairs are. So usually when I'm looking at someone's head, I look at hairline, I look at the sides, I look at the top portion of the head, then the crown, and then in this nape, nape area underneath here.
Right.
And so you're going to see, and you'll see some variation anyhow, but, kind of taking a look at that. So that is probably going to be a bigger determining factor of why sections might be shorter than other sections.
Right. Yeah, and I find like because the back of my hair is looser than the center part, that it feels like it's growing faster, but but it's only because it looks longer.
And right, and that would be the second one. If you have curls in one area, then obviously as they grow out, they just keep getting more coily and shorter. They
it just looks shorter.
Out. Or like you were saying, the underneath of your hair is a little looser, more wavy. It will appear longer than the hair in your crown.
Yes.
So that would be the other factor. So it could be just perception.
Awesome. And so one last thing, what is your website? And I want to put it in the comments, so if anyone wanted to go find you, they can. And also make sure you follow Amy Ambush Salon on Instagram.
Sure. And they can even contact me with questions that they just want to have answered, or if they would like to see maybe a little footage or a little video of something, we can pop something up there too. Our website is ambushedsalon.com, and that is AMBUSHEDSALON.
Got it. Yep. And so the last few minutes before we get kicked off, was there anything else you wanted to share with everyone? Thank you, Pearlie.
Yeah, thank you everybody for chiming in and supporting us on my first time being on Instagram.
And now you're gonna be hooked. You're gonna be doing this all day.
This is it. I'm gonna be like, Scarlett, can we? What are you doing next Sunday?
Let's do it. I'm all for it.
Oh, absolutely. I just love educating everybody.
Yes.
Clients and other stylists alike, because education gives us the freedom to make better choices.
Definitely.
That are
we want to make informed decisions, and that's what this is all about. And I just want to plug in Wonder Curl. So if you are in Ohio and you don't want to pay for shipping, you can go to Ambush Salon and you can pick up your favorite Wonder Curl products. They carry the entire line.
Yes. And by the way, just a little plug into Wonder Curl real quick. I had this bride that came in this morning, and her hair is just fine, but her niece came in looking like she just got straight up out of bed. She had like, 3A, 4C type texture, and it was matted and it was tangled.
Oh
And
boy.
of course, they only gave me like an hour to get both of them done because they came late,
Right.
And so we pinned up half of it, leaving it just like it was. But let me tell you what, I just missed it down section by section, applied a little bit of the jelly, went through it with the Denman brush, and they were perfect.
Yay!
And that's one of my biggest things about Wonder Curls. I can put it on before detangling and detangle with the product in.
Wow.
Skip a complete step of detangling. So usually most people think they have to go in, detangle, all that stuff, and then put the product on. Nope. I go right in over top of tangles, and it separates and works through tangles. Doesn't matter which of the products I use.
You just taught me something new about my product that I didn't know.
Yeah, that's one of my
great.
favorite features.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that plug-in. Thank you so much for your time. I know you are a super busy woman, and this is your sort of day off because you worked earlier today. So thank you. I appreciate you.
Loved it.
Everyone loved the information, and they want to follow up. So I say let's look at our calendars and make it happen.
And I'll get that blog. So they can look forward to the blog, which will be somewhat of a recap of today.
Yes.
As well. And yeah, we'll do this again soon. And
Definitely.
I'll send you questions beforehand and I'll answer them.
Okay. Sounds great. Thank you so much, Amy. Thank you guys for tuning in. This was so much fun. I am sorry if you're just tuning in because we're going to head off, but this is still going to be available for the next 24 hours. So be sure to check it out. All right. Bye.
Bye. Thanks.
Thank you.